All right, here we go. Happy Monday, everyone, or whenever you're listening, because maybe you're not listening on a Monday. I don't know. How's it going, Jen?
Great.
So good.
So good.
So, school power. We're dealing with school power being out or on or
We're not sure.
Not
Sending
really.
kids home, got to pick them up. Who knows?
yeah. There's always something going on, right?
Yep. But here we are.
Which is cool. It is what it is, right?
Yep.
You decide to have kids, then you're responsible for them. You decide to have a business, and you're responsible for it. Mm-hmm. Decide to have a staff, and you're responsible for it. So
Lots of responsibilities.
I quit. No, I'm just kidding. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about taking a pause,
Yeah.
which is maybe something that we need to do more often.
Mm-hmm.
I had some thoughts on leadership. I just caught some glimpses of stuff. I'm not going to say where exactly, but just some thoughts that I had on dealing with things as a leader. And then, so we went to a farm last weekend with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really cool. They had, what was the flower? It was tulips. Sorry. I keep wanting to say
It was a tulip festival.
It was a tulip festival, and they had advertised like a food truck. It was like a big part of why you would go there. They had cider that they make themselves, and that was one of the highlights. Obviously, the flowers and walking around and all that stuff. And they had some music, which was pretty cool. But I had some thoughts on the food truck because they had run into some issues, and I don't think I'm capable of looking at things and not being like, well, if you had these systems in place.
I think we talked about that while we were waiting in line.
Yeah, while we were there.
Because here's the thing, when you, or it may be anything, but definitely if you're running a business, you do start to, when you're dealing with other businesses, maybe judging might be the wrong word, but I mean, we all judge whether we realize we're doing it or not. But also you kind of think of the systems they have in place. And for us, I think a lot of times we're like, see things that work well and not, because we like to look how other businesses are run to see what might help ours run better. Right?
Yeah. So the other thing I had to talk about today was systems, because I was recently at the salon and I started going through, and then I was like, wait a second, I know how to do this. Why am I recreating the wheel? So why don't we just start with the farm since we're already here, and then we'll come back around to the pause at the end of the
I like that
podcast. So I'm not knocking the business at all when I do this, because I don't think that's fair. I don't know what they have set up. I don't know what they have for staff. Maybe they're shorthanded, or maybe they have new people and they're just struggling that day, or maybe whatever. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's fair to judge a business on one encounter. Like, I hope that people would give us a chance. Like, if you're not completely satisfied, let us know. If not, I hope that they wouldn't rip us. Like, I'm not going to go online and rip this farm apart. There's no need for that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking what happened basically. So we were staring at this food truck for a while because we finally found a table and we had sampled some of the cider. Mm-hmm. And we were like, all right, let's get some food. And the kids were getting hungry, and we decided finally to get up and wait in line because the line was kind of long. And it wasn't really moving at all. So
I kept watching it, like, all right, we'll get in when it gets slow, like when the line gets shorter. And I'm like, it's not getting shorter.
Yeah,
so.
It wasn't really getting shorter. So it was like, do you get in it? Do you wait? And so we decided, let's just walk up. So we went, and as we got closer, slowly but surely, we got closer. Mm-hmm. I noticed how this food truck was like, well, they didn't use the word artisanal. I think that's sort of the vibe they were going for. You know, the farm fresh and all that stuff, which is cool. It's a little buzzy for me, like a little buzzwordy.
Yeah.
But then I saw a sign that was like, we cook all orders to order. And I was like, why?
Yeah, like this festival had a lot of people. Like,
there was a lot, hundreds and hundreds of people.
If you wanted to pick tulips, I think it sold out in like 30 minutes. On the Thursday night, they put the tickets up. So they were very aware of at least the amount of people that were coming that bought tickets.
Well, or they should have been. So I'm not trying to judge because I don't know what the communication between, like, does the farm own that truck?
I don't know.
Is that, yeah. So I don't know. But either way, the line ended up getting so long that by the time we placed our order and we were in the next line, because they
Now you
don't
have to
start
wait.
your food until they get the other food out, but they had fallen so far behind, they put a sign up in a chain and closed the line.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know because I overheard, I had to use the restroom. So I was walking by
Mm-hmm.
and a woman was explaining to some people that were walking up that the food truck fell so far behind that they had to close it down. And it clicked in my head like, wow, we're lucky we got in line. But also, that kind of stinks. Again, stuff happens.
But every single person walking in is using the QR code to check out the menu.
Yeah.
And now they're not able to get food.
No.
Which is part of what you came for.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're there to spend time with our family. And it took an hour pretty much to get this
At
food.
least I was going to say it took slightly over an hour.
Which becomes frustrating when you're at a festival to hang out with your family, listen to music and hang out. And now that's not possible because of a poorly run food truck system.
Yeah, they need, in my opinion, to do some adjustments. Like, so one of the items they have is a hot dog. And that's what Gwen wanted because our daughter loves hot dogs. Who doesn't? I like hot dogs.
I hate hot dogs.
If they're burnt, I like them burnt on the grill. Anyways, a hot dog is
It takes 2 seconds.
it takes 2 seconds. But also you can, like, I've worked in the restaurant industry before. You can prep things. You don't have to do at one point I'm obviously joking, but I'm like, are they growing the corn?
Yeah.
Or are they like going out back to harvest the corn for each order? Because it was taking that.
And here's what's sad. We came out of this festival, which it was a great time. Like I would
time.
do it again. It was really fun.
I'll go back.
But I think when the most, like what we're talking about the most is what was the failure of it is not what I'm sure they want you to take out of it. And I think they're open like 2 weekends for this festival every year. So you would think they would have things ironed out being prepped. And I think it just relates to any business that you really need to execute on all levels, depending on what you're doing.
One of the things you said to me was like, well, maybe they didn't expect it to be that busy, or maybe whatever. You had said it like when we were there at one point, and I was like, is this their first year? And then you were like, no, they've been doing this for like 40 years or whatever. All right. Well, yeah, there should have been a note somewhere like, hey guys, this weekend gets
somewhere
busy.
We're not communicating.
The other thing I think is when you start, this is how I want to relate it to the industry that we're in now, which is the hair industry. But when you start deciding what's important to you over what's important to your client base, there's a potential for a disconnect and there's a potential to run into some issues. So I know a lot of people in this industry are like luxury. That's the buzzword, right? Mm-hmm. We're luxury. We're the luxury salon. We're the luxury choice. We're for like the luxury client. Well, if that's not what your client's thinking, like I don't know if people are coming into our salon and being like, this is a luxury experience. I don't get, I get it, but I don't think as many people are putting as much stock into that as if they were, say, going away on like a spa weekend or something like that. I mean, getting a maintenance haircut, which is the majority of your clientele, or getting a maintenance color or something like that. I don't know if it needs to be this over-the-top luxury thing if your clients aren't sort of asking for that. So I think what I took away from it, and I'm not saying don't have a luxury experience. You do you. You do what you want to do. But I think knowing your audience and knowing your client base will serve you a lot better than trying to force your vision. If that makes sense.
I agree. And it doesn't mean that you can't make your salon space, barber, whatever, that vibe that you want that maybe looks and has a nice feel to it. But the services you're offering and in that time portion too is very important to, yes, the clients that you're serving.
Yeah. And
you can make that experience amazing, but that doesn't mean that it's this. But again, I guess luxury. I
just see the word and I'm like, it's buzzy. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I was going to say it has so many meanings because to somebody who maybe is visiting a spa every week, like that's luxury to them. So a salon would never be luxury anyway because you don't have, like that vibe's not there. It's not chill. It doesn't have spa music. Like a salon is buzzing around.
No, I had Kendrick playing the other day.
Yeah.
And our clients were jamming out.
Right.
It's fun. Again, I'm not saying, and don't get that confused with like your foundation. So when we talk about this stuff, like I just said, don't push your vision. I'm not talking about your overall vision of your company and where you're going to be in the future. That's already defined.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to blur words or come up with new meanings for words. I'm just saying, like, so if you focus so much that you're willing to like upset a client base, because like we said, we'll go back to the farm. Some of those people won't.
Right. My expectations will be a lot lower, and I brought a bag of snacks, but my food situation I might bring a cooler next time and not rely on the food truck.
You're the world's most prepared mom and you have 3 kids. So yeah, we had food. Sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves and what we want, our desires, that we miss opportunities to serve others. Mm-hmm. And that's really what having a business is about serving your clients.
Customer experience,
serving your customers,
service,
serving your guests. Again, I don't care what you want to call people. It's just important to do that, I guess, and to be mindful. So hopefully that food truck
gets it together.
Yeah, I don't know what they need to do because again, I wasn't inside there.
I think I laid out 7 different ways they could do it better in my head while we were waiting, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's not my food truck.
No, I had worked out where they could put a second food truck.
Yep. I had worked out how they could give out pagers so we could go sit back down, and when they paged us, we could come up. Even that would have made me happier rather than having to stand on that hot ass deck. Yeah,
they could have even had a speaker that was like 58.
Anything.
Like
so that you could
school.
Spend time with your family. Literally, we left my mom like at a table, and then we brought the kids.
She was fine, by the way.
Yeah, well, she was.
I just want to tell the audience because
her music.
People sat down with her.
Yeah, she makes friends everywhere.
So, yeah, don't miss opportunities to be of service to your base clientele, I guess, is the main takeaway here. So let's talk about systems a little bit.
Because it's important.
The other day, I was like, we need to rework our opening, closing sort of lists. So I sat down and I started working on some stuff after I did what I needed to do to open and set up. And then I realized that I was a dummy. I'll tell you why. Okay. You want to know why? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you why. I'm a dummy because I already know how to do this. And the easiest way to create a system, if you don't have one and you need one for something, is to document you doing it. Mm-hmm. So instead of document myself doing it, what I did was I did it, then sat down and tried to figure out how I would create this list. The list is already created. It's just not written.
Right.
For example, so say you need to create for your salon or shop a cleaning list. That's a pretty common one, right? What does that look like? So maybe you're closed on Mondays and that's your cleaning day. Okay, great. Here's what I want you to do. Get a notebook, preferably. You can use your phone, but with a phone, I find that I sometimes get distracted.
Of course,
text pops up, an email pops up. Someone needs something. So grab a notebook and document everything you do. You open the door. Mm-hmm. That's great. Do you have an alarm that you need to address? Like, you're going to write that down. Do you have lights you need to turn on? You're going to write that down. Do you want the music on or off? You're going to write that down. It's
back to like in, I think, 5th grade, you had to write like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then watch your friend follow and not make the sandwich the right way because you didn't like write out all of the instructions. Like, think that level.
So I didn't write down the amounts, and the girl that was making my sandwich for that in was it in 6th grade?
Ours, I think, was 5th, but...
Oh, 5th? No, mine wasn't 5th. It was either 6th or 7th, somewhere in there. Either way.
I don't even know why I remember that, but yeah.
I just sparked my memory too. But so the girl that was making my sandwich put a bunch of jelly on, and the teacher, Mr. Devlin, shout out, homie. So he was like, why are you putting so much jelly? It doesn't say to put that much. And then she was like, it doesn't say not to put that much. And then she was like, and then he said something back because he's the teacher, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, he doesn't want it to be dry, obviously. And he was like, that's the point. It's not obvious. Right. And I was like, and that clicked there. But I've worked with other business mentors of mine too that have helped me make lists and helped me make systems. And so you're just going to document that stuff. Where does the person, so the reason that you're going to want to do this is so that you can pass it off. So if I go into the salon, I know where the cleaning products are. I know what cleaning products are used for what. I know what is used for the base of the chair. I know what's used for the top. I know what's used for the mirrors. I know where to get the water. Somebody else might not. So by doing this, you're creating like a bulletproof system that anybody that's capable of doing those things, obviously, physically, is going to be able to just step in and do. And write down everything. Just document it. So you go in, you unlock the door, you deal with the alarm, you turn on the lights, you gather your supplies. Where are the supplies? You maybe check the levels of the supplies. How do you do that? What should it look like? All the more detail you can put in there, the better. Now, when you start doing this, you might be like, this is overwhelming. Great. Start with the big steps. So maybe you're not taking an inventory of your cleaning product on your first go round through. But maybe on the day that you're like, shit, I ran out of this cleaner, it prompts you to then go readjust your system and update it and be like, let's make this so it doesn't happen again. Because running to the store right now was not in the cards.
Right. It also helps with if you work with other people, whether they work for you or with you, it doesn't matter. And they're leaving at the end of the shift. Like, what can I do to help? Well, if you have this stuff laid out, you're like, actually, all the cleaners need to be refilled. Can you do that before you go? Now they're like, well, they're not going to say, well, you're with your client. How do I do that? Like it's all listed down, right? So they can be helpful, but they also can feel like they're really helping and you're not basically micromanaging or babysitting them.
Right. So you've got this system. How do you test it? The easiest way to test your system is to have someone, not you, try it out.
Yeah.
Can they do it? Maybe you pay someone like, hey, maybe you pay one of your stylists like, hey, would you mind cleaning this day? I'll pay you. But here's why. I want feedback on, did you have to stop and stand there and figure anything out? Because you shouldn't.
Right.
Or whatever feedback you want, The alarm goes off and the police show up. Okay, there's an issue.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have the code or whatever. So,
and I think if you're feeling frustrated running your business or you're looking around and like, why do the people not know how to do this stuff? Like they should see me doing it every day. Because I think that's a common thought.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right? The thing is if you didn't write it down, you don't have it posted somewhere, don't expect that they just know because they're watching you. It's not their business. They're never going to run it like the way you do.
Of course
so
not.
That's why it's so important. And also, I think it's a good reference tool. If you're getting frustrated with someone that's not doing stuff, now you can be like, hey, have you seen this list? This is how we do it. Do you have any questions? And then maybe this is how you're, using it as a tool. Like this person is just not getting it. So they might not be part of your team for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you've now showed them you have something to reference to and they're just not picking it up. Also, if you had to last minute, let's say, go get your kids because their school has no power, somebody can quickly step in and they're not left blind and then hoping that you're not mad that they didn't do the stuff. You may not get mad at them, but that's how people run. They think that they're always going to get in trouble, right? So if they have a list to follow and you're like, hey, everything's listed, just follow it as best you can. Cool. And then you actually could be seeing how that system works and what you need to do to tweak it. It's going to be a living document, but it will help when you're not there and when you are there for things to run smoothly. And if something's not, then you have to adjust.
For sure. And again, it's a bit of work up front, but if you got into business ownership to not work, it's not going to...
You're in trouble.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. You need to be on this stuff and you need to be asking all sorts of questions, but let's finish on the system. So we know how to create them. You just document yourself doing it. Again, that might take you a few weeks because you're not going to go in, clean the whole space, enter a client in, because you should have these systems for as many things as possible. Anything that you're doing in the business that somebody else may or may not do, because again, you never know what's going to happen. So don't skip a system because you're like, oh, I just do that. Because you're going to be salty eventually when you are stuck doing something because you're a micromanager or whatever reason. And then how to adjust them. So if your system needs changing, so say, for example, you have a system for bringing on a new client. So you gather the information from the email, in person, over the phone, whatever. You enter it in the computer. The person shows up. They have a tour because they're new, whatever, right? So you have this system. How do you adjust that? You can do it however you want, but the one piece of advice I would give is to not blow it up unless it's a complete and total failure on your first go. But I would imagine it's not going to be all that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would make little changes and maybe like stick to one at a time and then retest it. Because otherwise it's going to just confuse things, or if you have a system in place for a long time and then you change the whole thing, that could throw your staff off as well, which is not what you want to do. These are to make their lives easier, which in turn makes your life easier, which means you can then be of service to your staff more, which means they get even happier, which means hopefully your business is thriving and doing well, growing. Cool?
Yeah, I think it's
Systems.
great. We actually, just so you know.
So don't have a food truck. No, I'm just kidding.
We print out our systems and laminate and then put a dry erase marker for checking things off if that's something that needs to happen. But that works for us because if you just throw a piece of paper up somewhere, it's going to get wet, it's going to get ruined. So the laminating and kind of getting it up there sort of just helps keep it in a good spot and clean.
Yeah, and
just
so we're going to be breaking those down to where there's a sheet for every station as well, which will be cool because then we could and anybody listening should do this too if you want. But what we can do is have the person basically sign off, like just initial. So you at our place, we shift our stations, and the station used today might not be the station used on your next shift because somebody might be at it, or somebody might need it or whatever. So what we do is we have you clean everything out of the station. And part of that is you're responsible for actually cleaning out the drawer. Like, don't leave it full of hair.
Right.
So by having somebody initial that, they're taking ownership of it. But it's also saying to the next person, like, hey, Todd signed off that he cleaned this, but it's not clean. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? So it gives you a little bit of ownership of of your work and a little bit of accountability.
And a lot of times too, the end of a shift, people are tired. So it's very easy to forget. And if you have it written out really simple, they know what to do. And you don't have to like babysit and again, that micromanaging, because hopefully you're hiring people that they want to just do their job. They don't want that like kind of hanging over their head. And this would go for if you have a salon that you have people that rent their chairs or you have commissioned stylists. You can, on all fronts, let people know how they're supposed to leave their station. And again, it just keeps up with it. So then not every month you're like, wow, this place just needs to be cleaned. It is cleaned all the time, every day, all day. And your salon will just stay a hell of a lot cleaner over time.
Yeah. And keep in mind, people are still going to miss things. We're not doing this so that we know like, oh, Todd didn't clean the station exactly how it's supposed to be cleaned. Let's go yell at him. Like, that's not the point.
Right.
It's just to identify issues. So if for some reason, so we have 6 stations currently on our main floor, 6 stylist stations. If like 4 or 5 out of 6 of them are having the same issue, that now tells us as the owners that we've got to look at something.
Right.
Like, why is there's no way everyone would miss this. So what can we do to get better? And what can we do to guide people to do what needs to be done or whatever.
And it keeps your team really just working together.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about resting?
Sure.
So this came up because we're helping somebody in the early stages of building out their salon. They're going to own a salon. Am I allowed to say that? There's nothing specific. I'm not going to say names or anything. So, this person became overwhelmed, I'll say. Maybe not like freaking out, overwhelmed, how you would traditionally think of the word.
But frustrated, hit a wall.
Yeah, the things that they thought were going to be the easy, quick things to check off the list are turning out to be the most
difficult.
Laborious.
Yeah.
And it's okay, because you never, like... You can listen to us talk about opening Hello and be like, oh, that's how you open a business. That's how we open our business. Yours might look, and probably will look, a lot different. So I learned back in the day through writing, because I like to write. And sometimes you get stuck, or sometimes you read through things a million times and you're like, this isn't clicking. So what you need to do is take a break. It can be a half an hour, a day, a week, a month. It depends on what scenario you're in. But when you come back with a cold eye, it's easier to see like, oh, wow, that paragraph makes no sense. Or that doesn't even need to be there. I can delete that. I don't know why. That would have taken a reader. Now that I'm not looking at it as the writer, I'm looking at it as a reader. That would have taken a reader's mind away from the main story or whatever, right? So she took a rest. What did we say, a week? A little over a week?
We gave her, I think it ended up being a little over a week because she had a meeting a day or two later that she had to do, which was business related. And then it was shut your brain off.
Yes. So she took that time. We assigned that as her like homework. And she did really well with it.
Yeah. And what we did was we booked our coaching call or mentoring call, whatever you want to call it, with her the week later as like either we're going to get back on track or do we need more time? Like, where does this sit? And that will just be the check-in of how we
move forward.
Yeah, exactly. How we look for like what's next. So, out of that, keep going.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that she came back. She's reinvigorated.
Yeah, it was great. Actually, even the tone in her voice was completely different.
Agreed. And she was excited, and she had started doing some other stuff that she could work on because she wasn't focused on what she wasn't able to do. She started focusing on what she could do. So she was like, I can't do this because I'm not there yet, but I can do this. And by doing that, it sparked another conversation with a financial planner or whatever. And she was like, I
had an epiphany and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And she goes, and I feel creative again. Like, she took a week. That was it. And like really was able to shut her brain off and came back like wicked excited.
Yeah. And so I know you have a story you're going to share.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. So I want to talk before you do that because mine I think is pretty quick and yours is a little more in depth. Vacation. So vacation, because I said this to her, I said, this is how a vacation's supposed to feel. You're supposed to come back inspired, rested, energized, excited, all the good things that we want to feel. And you should feel, in my opinion, on vacations, you should feel ready to come back. I know for myself, I'm always happy to get back to your regular routine of life that sort of bores you every day in a way.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. But then you're like, but that is my life that I like. But by stepping away from it for a little bit and taking that respite, you get that.
Totally agree.
That, almost
look forward to.
Almost like a longing, I was going to say, which might be a little aggressive, but like a longing for it. Yeah. Like we had just talked about exercise and how for us it's way easier in the summer, warmer months.
Yeah. When the kids are out of school, the schedules are just more lenient.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So I think if your vacation is supposed to act as a rest. So if you're working a bunch before and working a bunch after, that's not a vacation. That's just like allocating your
It's going to take your whole vacation to chill out.
Right.
To get ready to just go back and start working again. You don't even get to vacay.
And there are a couple reasons. We don't have to get into all of them. Just quickly, like the first thing I think is you're not accounting for your time probably in your pricing structure. So when you, for example, look out at how much money you need to make to break even, say, for your business. If you say you need to work 5 hours a day, we'll just pick random numbers. So you need to work 5 hours a day to break even 4 days a week, but you're only open 3 days a week, you can never break even. It's just basic math. You don't have enough time.
Right.
So you either need to add that day or add in ways to make that money up.
It's not just going to happen because you wished it to.
Right. And again, this isn't a pricing episode, so I don't want to get down the rabbit hole with it, but you should be accounting for your vacation.
Right.
Not just we're open, say, Tuesday through Saturday. We close Sunday, Monday. Right. But not 52 weeks a year. And I do see that a lot. Like, so the last time I saw something irritated me with like the passive aggressive to clients. And it was like, if I have one no-show a week, it's this much money a month, which is this much money a year. And I was like, first of all, yeah, no one cares. Second of all, stop being rude to people. That's a you problem because you haven't done your groundwork to prevent that. Don't blame me.
You need a system.
And then second, I was like, I guarantee you they're basing this on 52 weeks a year. So I did their math real quick and I was like, they are. So they're not accounting for any time that they're taking off or anything like that. And I get it that it's crude math, but still, have some integrity, people. It's numbers. And the other thing I think that, and you can agree or disagree, but I think a bulk of people have a scarcity mindset when it comes to it. If I don't squeeze my clients in, somebody else is going to get them. If I don't do everything I can, someone else is going to steal my clients or my clients will get mad.
Again, you have to bring your value to the table and fantastic customer service, and that will never be an issue.
Also, here's the thing we talk about a lot: attract clients that are going to respect your time.
Yeah. I had a client send flowers the other day because they were 10 minutes late.
Hell yeah.
And she's a stress ball. I attract stress balls because I'm one. So I understood she was probably stressing on the way, and she literally like kicked her kid out of the car. And when he showed up, makes your mom freaking out. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I told her not to stress. He's like, I know. Yep. It's all good. And then I got flowers the next day because she was like, thank you so much.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Really like, so part of what we want to attract to Hello is people that understand and appreciate time, because it's the only thing you're not going to get more of. None of us are going to get more time. So,
and we all have the same amount.
We don't all have the same amount.
We all get 24 hours in a day.
Well, you have the same day.
Yeah.
I'm like, never know when you're about to check out. Like
in that case, yes, not your lifeline. I meant like
Sorry.
Jeez.
I was like, we don't know. That's the whole point of time being so precious, is that we don't know how much of it we have. So like, anyways, let's move on. So you have a story.
I do. So I think sometimes for me personally, I always I feel like I need permission to take time off, permission to rest.
A cosigner.
I need somebody to, like, hey, this is important. I can see like you need a break. And I'm like, yeah, I do. You're right. Thank you for noticing or encouraging or whatever it is. So when I was dealing with my lawsuit from my last business, separation, divorce, whatever you want to call it, my attorney had advised me to speak with a different attorney on some financial matters. So when I was talking to that attorney, he was giving me, a bunch of great advice, and we were coming into the summer and I was just stressed, drained, exhausted on all different fronts. And he gave me great advice, which was, he's like, Jen, if you need a break, you can say, hey, I'm taking the summer off. I don't want to deal with this lawsuit this summer. And I'm like, you can? And he's like, absolutely. Like, just say, hey, I'm going to get back to this in the fall. I want to think about it, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what your excuse is. You don't even need to have one, but you're allowed to take a break and not deal with this if that's what you need. And, I'm in my 40s. You'd think I have 3 children. I have a husband. I have a business. You'd think I would just know that, but I didn't. It took someone else to say to me, hey, you're allowed to do this without any excuses, without no one needs to know anything, whatever. Just say, hey, I'm taking a break. And it was like that simple. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So sometimes you can just say, hey, I'm taking a break.
And then what did you set a date to come back to reconvene with your lawyers?
I must have. Yeah, I think I said the fall. I think I was going to get the kids in school and then like we could pick back up. And
do you think part of it is, we talked about this before we hit record, but do you think part of it is the scenario or the scenario of it being like a legal matter? So you feel like this pressing, because whenever there's lawyers and things involved, it can be extremely stressful. Yeah. And I just think, I don't know, I just always just show up. So it's my job to get this done. So I just have to deal with it as it comes my way. I didn't think I was able to kind of drive that bus in a sense. Yeah. Every week I'd be like, when's the email coming in? What's next? And we were away, I think, in early June. And I was like, I got an email right when we like hit camping. And I'm like, this is just so much. And that's when I was like, wait, this doesn't have to be. It's going to be. And I had to think to myself too, like, can I shut my brain off for the summer? And I'm like, I need to reevaluate even this whole scenario. So, yeah. And the reason I ask is for the people that weren't there. Like, obviously we're married. I was there. I was by your side. I get it. But obviously, if there's like, so this is a legal matter that's two people breaking up a business. There's no crime. So like if you do a crime, they're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to take the summer off. I'll get back to you. And like, no, you killed 4 people.
Yeah.
Like
It's not happening.
You're not
in
taking
that
the
case.
summer off, sir.
Yeah.
Come back here, sir.
Yes.
But this was a matter that like, it really wasn't all that pressing. Super stressful.
Very.
Super stressful.
Not over life and death at all.
Anytime you're dealing with money and emotions come in, and you have people that think they're entitled to certain things that don't even exist. And
And I think too, I was thinking like, I just want to get this over with. But I'll tell you, anybody that's gone through legal stuff, it's never fast. It's never quick. You're not just going to get it over with. So there's a point where, I mean, I talk about this all the time.
Give her the house and the cars. I'm out.
Right? Like people will be, like, wow, you don't want to lose your patience. And I'm like, well, you have to have patience first to lose it. And I have very little patience. But like this was kind of one of those moments where it's like, have some patience because this is a marathon. You're in it for a long haul. It is what it is. And yeah, a break may be necessary. And it is, let's do that, for your mental health. Jeez. Or for mine. Maybe not yours. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's so much value in the pause, in the pausing, in the break, in the vacation, and whatever you want to call it, in whatever scenario. So your day-to-day like stuff, you're probably going to need a pause at least once throughout your day where you just, I find myself doing it more and more, and I find myself sometimes thinking about it and then forcing it, and then sometimes it's automatic now. So, for example, the other day, I was driving to the grocery store. Shocker for anybody that knows me. We're always at the freaking grocery store. I have to go today. Someone cut out in front of me. And normally I would get irritated because people on this, for whatever reason on this road by our house that I travel, I choose to travel it. So it's like I'm choosing this abuse. But people love to cut out and then do like a third of the speed limit. If you're going to cut in front of me, I do not care, but go. Just go. So anyways, this person cut out in front of me and I automatically just slowed way down and was listening to a podcast. And then I was like, hey, wait a second. I didn't even get annoyed there. I backed off, and that was a little bit of a subconscious pause. And you're going to have those a bunch of times throughout the day. And then I think where I was going with this point was sometimes you're going to have a big pause like, hey, I'm not able to accomplish these things. I'm taking a week to just take a break and let my brain recharge, or go do something fun. I don't know what you're into if you're listening. Maybe it's outdoor stuff. Go do that. Go fishing on a day. I don't know.
Go to a tulip festival.
Yeah, go to a tulip festival. Not for the food. No, I'm just kidding. The food was good in the end. Good. So, all right. I had some stuff on leadership, but I think this is good.
Yeah,
I like this. And then maybe next week we'll dive into a little bit of leadership stuff. All right, cool. Thanks for tuning in. If you need anything, reach out.
Yes. Peace out.
Happy Monday. Bye.